So now I would apologize. I'm going to start with a swear word, but it's not mine. It's Mark Twain's. Is that allowed?
Sure.
Love it. Mark Twain writes, "The gentle reader will never know what a consummate ass he can become until he goes abroad." That's from The Innocents Abroad, which is a book about Mark Twain's own travels across the world. So as we talk about our theme for this year, which is respect, and listening as an important form of respect, I want to propose that travel is a form of listening. And every trip you take offers the opportunity to listen and to expand your worldview. But not all trips are created equal in this way. The most transformative trips are those that remove you from all context. The trips that drop you into a world where the things that often define you, your hometown, your school, your extracurriculars, where those things lose all of their meaning. I got the travel bug when I went to boarding school. My family, pretty homogenous. If you couldn't already tell that, that's okay. Everybody is from Boston. My cousins from Boston all sound like the Affleck brothers in an SNL skit, and they look like little Irish meatballs. If you need a visual reference point, look at my youngest son, Harry. He is a little Irish meatball. And my cousins are in their 30s. So look, when I got to Tabor Academy in 2002, I was blown away by the people that I met. My first major travel opportunity was foiled by my parents. My good friend from Hong Kong had invited me to come to her house over spring break. Sadly, my parents said no, and at the time I thought they were incredibly ignorant. But if I'm being honest, and I'm going to be honest with you today, I was excited about the trip for the same reasons that they were terrified by it. Seeing Hong Kong would have been cool, but what even was the drinking age over there? I can't say I blame them now as an adult for saying no, but I am still bummed, and it lit a fire in me. I wanted to get abroad, and I didn't yet know how. I didn't study abroad in college either, because I was playing ice hockey, and when I graduated from college, I was so fixated on getting a job in advertising as quickly as possible. And I was lucky. I was lucky enough to get my dream job in New York City, but I arrived in June, and by the middle of October, I realized that I hated the work. I was living with my boyfriend at the time, who's now my husband, and he also hated his job in finance. So we did what any reasonable young couple would do, and we left our career tracks, and we decided to travel to New Zealand for a year. We loaded up a 60-liter backpack with the essentials: a few pairs of pants, a green fleece that I still wear today, and toilet paper. It turns out they have plenty of toilet paper in New Zealand, and it's very nice. When we landed in Auckland, we had the first 20 days planned out, but nothing beyond that. We had no return tickets booked. Our only limits were our bank accounts and each other. When I look back on those moments, I feel excited, and I feel, as if to use Rev Hardy's words, we were on the precipice of opportunity. But in that moment, I was virtually frozen by the fear. We warmed, and for about a year, we then traveled across New Zealand. While traveling, I had to shut up, and I had to listen a lot. I was lucky enough to meet my seatmate on the 20-hour flight over. I got to hear all about Karen's daughter, who lived in Wellington and was looking for a cat sitter for the month of December. Working at a fancy seafood restaurant in Queenstown, I had to listen to a few heated lectures when it became apparent to my manager that my previous waitressing experience was at a takeout counter and not like the fine dining establishment we were in. When I got to the top of the chairlift at the Remarkables Mountain in Queenstown, I had to follow the leader. When my roommates, who I was living with at the time, took off their skis and started hiking to a new ridge that I thought was off limits. And I will never forget those runs, which I once thought were forbidden. This trip, it wasn't actually about a bucket list or collecting experiences, though we did get to collect some amazing experiences. That type of travel, that's all about the bucket list, that's all about checking off the things that you can do in these different places, if it's not executed in the right way, it can be really limiting, and it actually can be disrespectful. because it's not about listening and learning. It's just about doing and collecting things that you get to take home. There were no bungee jumping or heli skiing for us. Our favorite memories were actually sitting around the brazier, which is Kiwi speak for a fire pit, playing cards over endless pots of tea made the right way. That was something else I learned. And throwing chains onto our tires to dry up to a ski field. At every turn, I realized I was not an expert. No one knew me or my background, my usual reference points, my school, my hometown, a job, the fact that I had played hockey in college. They were meaningless, and I had lost all of my context. I had to connect by asking questions, living in the moment, and learning from others. I was a different person over there, and it was hard. One of the biggest changes I noticed in myself, this may be hard to believe, but was my own volume. Back home, I was the loud, funny friend, but in New Zealand, I wasn't that funny. And that was really hard for me. Feeling that? No. Just kidding. Thank you for that. I found myself in most conversations taking a back seat, and I was laughing, and I was listening, and I was not the one with the punchline. And that was really good for me. This was in no way a leisurely trip. It was exhausting. At times, I would describe it as shattering emotionally. And I recall being physically cold all the time. Because in New Zealand, they don't believe a ton in insulation in houses. They are much too hardy for it. But I don't regret a minute of this year. It was humbling and it was thrilling. And in the end, it helped me and Mr. Grover define our values and set forward on a path that brought us here to Millbrook School and to the life that we've built together. So next time that you endeavor on a trip, just think about how you might leave your context behind. Submerge yourself in a new location and just listen to the world around you. Some of you in this room are doing this already. By coming to Millbrook, you have abandoned all context. To all of you, I applaud you for listening, and I encourage you, I implore you, speak up. Give a chapel talk. We want to hear about some of your context. We will all be better for it. Our Founders Prize winners, congratulations again, Hezi and Alex. You will have the opportunity to do this kind of experience over the summer through Overland. Many of you in this room will also have great experiences to travel this summer. I want to acknowledge that travel is not the only way to lose your context. You can do that pretty close to home. If you work construction over the summer, that might disabuse you of your private school context very quickly. But part of my point in this talk is that listening is not just about sitting at a table. Listening is really important, and traveling is an incredibly fun way to listen. Just design that trip so that encourages you, that it is fueled by questions and by listening. One other idea I would leave you with is that I want you to let this idea marinate for a few more years. Because if you really want to lose yourself in a travel experience, it's not something that you will sign up for. It's not something that you pay a fee and sign a waiver for. Wait until you're at a point in your life where you're able to build it for yourselves. And then you will really get to lose all context. So good luck to my fellow travelers out there. Thank you so much for your time today.